Okay, let's go through real quick and do this again, just to kind of review. And I always like reviewing anyway, just to make sure that this stuff starts to feel natural, because I know it doesn't until you do it a few times, and then it does. And so here we take that in, universal fixes, make sure it says MOWG-affiliate, it does, replace, it's done. Code to vars, I already know the sheet's going to look fine. And what I could do would be what? Thesaurus. And then from here, what would I do? Again, if I'm going through this on my own, but I want to make sure to get rid of anything that has characters that we don't like, then I would do the replace editor to fix any oddball characters. I'm just showing you best practices anyway. I mean, we would still need to go through and change the wording on all these if we were doing it manually, which we're not going to. But now that I have that done, I can do the header generator. I can copy that to another tab, paste, code reassembly with a space, done. Hit the replace editor again on it, done. And then just save it as an HTML page and then go back, get rid of it because I'm done with it. As long as I know I have the page, normally, get rid of the SSS columns because I don't need those statics for the actual var sheet itself, and just save that as a CSV. It's done, close, we can save that. And then from here, just get rid of that empty column in the beginning and save that. Yes, close this, no. And this thing is ready for us to do a MOWG-Pro run on it. You know, that's literally how quick that bit went, with the exception of needing to do the thesaurus work, right? This kind of work. So let's do this differently now. I'm going to show you how you do this with an article spinner. And I'll start at the beginning so you'll see where the difference is, because this is a little different process. It's very, very cool. We found an article spinner that's extremely good. It understands verbiage pretty well, and it learns from users in real time. There are a lot of users using it, and it's growing at full speed, and it's very smart. If you say, I write with a pen versus sheep live in a pen, then it understands from context what you're saying. So the synonyms, the variations that it suggests, and they're not always synonyms, but variations that are really generic and standard, are actually very good because it thinks through the context. All right. And it's very fast and very good that way. And so it does most of the work for us. So let me show you what that's all about. And the only point I need to make is this: the problem with article spinners usually is that they work with wording and they don't work well with coding. And so the problem that we had with our article spinner of choice, our recommended article spinner, is exactly that. The coding just didn't, well, you couldn't paste in a web page and it would see the words around the coding. It couldn't understand the coding tags. It broke every time we tried to run it with the web page. So we kept having to do sentences at a time, really, or kind of work around all the coding, all the bold tags, underline tags, italicized tags, paragraph tags, line break tags, and that was a pain. So we decided to take the toolbar and make it possible for the toolbar to convert all the static stuff into alphanumerics that would work on the spinner, where the spinner would just look at the alphanumeric combination and say there are no synonyms for that, no variations in our database, so we just skip it and work on the wording all around it. And then when it was done, we could take the output, because it would preserve the alphanumerics just like they were. It would just assume they're words in the articles that don't have variations. So when we were all done, we could take the output, paste it back into Excel, and convert those alphanumerics back into the original coding again, and there we'd have it. All the wording perfected around all the coding. That's what I'm going to show you right now. And that's just cool. So let me do it again. And this is how we like to do it now. It's so much faster. So if you were getting a little nervous there about how much work it would be doing those var sheets, you'll see that this is just so much easier now. Here we go, code to vars. There we go. Now I will still run the thesaurus because I need to generally know which of these words would have synonyms or other wording combinations and which are just code therefore, which don't have variations, things that I don't want to be varied because they should not be varied. Now at this point I could clean this sheet up as best I want and make this thing just as good as I want. But what I'm going to do instead is this. I'm going to create the varsheet coding to alphanumerics. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm not hitting the header generator. I don't want it to make too many assumptions yet. I want to go with varsheet coding to alphanumerics. And guess what it did? Might be hard to follow. It started by pasting in the first 1,000 words or the first 1,000 items, 1,000 cells really. And it everywhere that there was something static, it put a static alphanumeric. Static alphanumeric. Wherever there was a word that had variations, like online had variations, then it used the word because our thesaurus gave it away. Our thesaurus said there are probably going to be variations for this on the spinner. There are probably going to be variations for these as well on the spinner, the article spinner we're going to use. And so everywhere it's static, it left it static. Everywhere that there's words that will probably have variations, it left those in. And these are cool because they tend to be readable. Online marketing solutions is a concept the spinner could understand. And so when it took that first line and created the header for it, then down here, it concatenated the header. This is the same thing as doing the code reassembly with the space on this whole line. Okay, so this is ready for article spinning, and since the article spinner only works up to 1,000 words at a time, and then it says not recommended if you go further, we just thought it would be wise to split it after every 1,000 words, and it keeps continuing from there. You can even see this is SRW 1003. Well, that would be 1002, that would be 1001. That means this thing left off up here with what would have been basically the 1000 marker. Yeah, that is 998. This would be 999. Then comes the 1000, and then the rest of the web page continues down here. Now this whole thing's on a tab, new tab called Code to SRW. There's our original stuff it worked from. There's what it created. So I've got two articles to feed into my article generator now, my spinner. And here's how I'm going to do it. I can copy, open, and I want to spin multiple articles. I'm doing a bulk rewrite, not just a single, and that's because I got more than one line. I may as well use it. I'm going to paste it. May as well get rid of this last line break at the very bottom. I don't need it. And I'm going to add another article. That's going to be the second one down here. Now I could do these in whichever order, it doesn't matter because it treats them like separate articles. Now I'm going to start and I'm going to let this thing go. Do you notice how it says it will take approximately 47 seconds to finish? Can you imagine how much base work it's doing for me, where it's going to save me just a tremendous amount of effort based on this? And so inevitably, when this is done, I'm going to be in extremely good shape because it's going to have done most of the work for me. And again, it's going to work around all my alphanumerics that it just cannot find variables for. And what it will give me in the end will still keep those alphanumerics in place for each article. So that's just awesome. And we'll see how much work this saves us. I think you'll understand and agree at least 80% of the base work you had to do anyway. And this is what makes this such a powerful new feature to the MOWG toolbar and therefore to the MOWG-Pro that allows us to create actually readable web pages extremely fast. Now it'll be done here pretty soon. I could pause, and of course as soon as I pause it's going to say done. There we go. I'm going to go to my archive now. I don't need to stay here. I don't need to do anything else. So I'm going to go to my archive. And guess what I have? I can tell which one came first because it starts with these and it did that one first, and then it did the next one, so that one came next. If I would have pasted them in the opposite order, then I would have had these in the opposite order, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to view in a new tab each of these. Okay, and so there's one, and that's the second one. There's the first. Now it's the first. Here's what I do now. Here's the whole web page. Actually, it's just these are placeholders for all the coding and static words, right? And then it's got all the vars, the variables that it could think of. It didn't do any for online. I can choose to deal with that myself in the end if I want. But it put in what it could think of that were safe, because that's the way I have the settings on this thing. That it gives safe combinations, combinations that we believe are correct. So I'm going to select all, and I'm going to copy, and I'm going to go back to my Excel sheet, and I need a new tab now where I can paste it in here, except I got to double click again to paste it right into the cell. Paste. Good. It broke all out like that, all the way down to SRW 1000, which safely fits in a cell. So I hit OK. The check mark. Now in the next box, I'm going to put the next one. That's the rest of it. So here's the rest of it. Select all, copy, back, double click, boom, boom, and paste, and hit OK. That's awesome. So now what do I need to do? What I need to do is convert all of this stuff back from this standard spinner syntax. It's got to convert these back into varsheet format for me. So that's the next step. And when I hit it, it'll do it with the whole page. And guess what? It's done. Look at that. It starts with SR1, SR2, SRW1 and 2, and it goes all the way through to where? Right at the end. SRW 1604, which should be the last one. And it is. And so I'm completely done with this. And what I can do now is just continue with this thing. So look at what it did. It has very readable combinations. So what do I need to do now? I need to convert back these placeholders to what they originally were. They should be the doc type opening tag. That should be the word TFAN. And on and on. Ready? Alphanumerics to varsheet coding, which is the opposite of varsheet coding to alphanumerics. So it says we're going to replace these alphanumerics back to the varsheet coding, the coding, all that stuff. And where is the source sheet that has that information? Code to SRW. It always will be that. Code to SRW. So that's where it had the information for the conversions. When we submit, it rewrites, and guess what? It's done. Now that's awesome. There's my coding back, my static words back, all the way across the entire web page. It all matches up all the way to the end. There it is. And again, it looks like it broke, but it didn't break. It just line wrapped. So wherever that thing ended, right here, I can verify that it goes all the way to the end of the page, which it does. So now this thing is ready. I could do a header generator right now. I probably should create more variability if I wanted to, just because it's not that deep, but it's enough to at least create some. I could create safely, I don't know, 10,000 pages with this, I think, would probably be fine. You know, and I'm just saying that out loud. All right. But because, you know, the bigger the pages this way, again, the more you try to aim for variables going down a little bit, you want at least like 3 to 5. This is probably closer to 3 than to 5. But it's okay, at least for our purposes right now. And all I want to say is you can continue adding. If I wanted to put stuff for online here, I could do it, and I could do it here too, you know, and I could figure out what I want these things to be, and then I could copy that list from here and paste it there. Anything like that. I could go ahead and do it all now, you know, and that way I get it just the way I want. So let me drop this though, because what I want to look at, and you can see it with me, is how well these generally came out in terms of creating pages that are readable. So are you ready? Let's do the header generator now. See how we wound up at this point where it simulates having just run the thesaurus and cleaned it all up. We're at the point where we're ready now for the header generator. And so when we do that, it gives us our header with all the proper combinations. So let's put that on a new sheet, paste, and do this again, code reassembly, and run the replace editor on it, and then save that as an HTML page. Let's see how that looks. There we go. Not as thickly varred out, but very solidly varred out. I see that there's vars pretty much all throughout this thing, and that's what I needed to see most of all, right? That the vars are very solidly taken care of all throughout. I could still do all kinds of cleanup that I want to do, like this bit with a space question mark. Nothing stops me. Edit, replace, space question mark with a question mark. Replace all. Now again, anytime this seems like a lot of work, remember how quickly we actually pulled this off. I've been talking you through it. The next time I go to show how this went, you realize how fast it goes and how many pages we can generate off of this. That's the part that's absolutely wild, right? So let me come back here now. We're done with that. Let's go back to our sheet 2 in this case, because that's the correct version with the header generator. We never did do the header generator here. That was before. Now we're here. So I'm going to delete that top line because we don't need it and get rid of the SSSs. And there we go. So I can save it as a CSV file and I can close this thing. And now I have a CSV file with the empty column gone. And this should all match up. And if I'm right, we're going to be in great shape now. And again, when you think, wait a minute, wasn't it like 1604 in the end? Remember, that was for all the static verbiage. This is the flip side. These are all the vars, the variables, the opposite side of the coin. We're no longer marking the statics, we're marking the variables. Okay? So, now that that's done, we could get rid of this thing. I could archive it. I could even just do something like this. If I wanted to keep it out of my way but still have it. And what can I do now? I can start setting this thing up, can I? Let me just do it. Let me go with that and say index with this and say vars. And this is going to be for MOWG-affiliate.com. 100 pages, not uploading to FTP server now. And we're going to save it right here as 1-MA. Okay, hit next, refresh vars if I want. Then I can start putting this stuff together and I can use literally anything I want off the page, right? And so I might do stuff like this. And again, I'm just going to fake it right now. Step-by-step video training, all that kind of thing. Seriously, serious string, step-by-step video training. I can put these in any order, by the way. So I could go step-by-step video training system, for example, and that would be like this: step dash by dash step, dash video training system slash. And then I could continue with more keyword concepts, allowing regular people to art, contacting people multiple buy anything they want to sell. So it could be like allowing regular people to contact. I could probably find it in here somewhere, something like that. Contacting about anything you want to sell. And again, this is just really a cheap way of doing it. I'm just trying to kind of warm you up to the concept of setting up the URLs right. Allowing regular people, and actually I want that to be a slash, and then contacting about anything they want to sell. I can do it like that if I want. Do I really need the caps? No. And there you have it. So I'm going to save that. Now this is good enough for the moment. Let's process. What we want to see is how readable these pages are. The URL structure so far is still not going to be the best because I didn't think it through as much as I could, but you saw the concept of how to think it through. Let's go and see, and we can rename it if we want for archiving, how reasonable the pages are.